Hypixel Skyblock has a fairly large player base with varying types of people. Some of these people go out of their way to help others, while most typically keep to themselves. However, it's no secret that Hypixel as a whole is a fairly toxic server, and there are few select individuals in Skyblock who decide they'd rather be scummy and take advantage of the work of others instead of doing it themselves. These people are typically scammers. Scamming is a huge issue in Hypixel Skyblock, and it probably will be until the game's end. At this point, it's almost embedded into the culture of the game. I've personally fallen for scams in my journeys here, and I know a lot of others have as well, which is why I've compiled some of the most common scams in the game to help you stay alert and avoid them. The first scam I'd like to mention is the Jacob's Tool scam. The reason I decided to talk about this one first is because it's probably the biggest scam in the game right now, and I know for a fact not all of you watch my videos all the way to the end, which hurts my feelings, but I had to inform you all of this. For some background, Jacob's tools are specialized, highly valuable farming tools, and they're typically not tradable through the typical trading menu. Why? I don't know, I'm not a Skyblock admin. However, these tools have really high demand, and the only way to give these tools to another player is to drop it on the floor. The typical trade commonly goes like this. The buyer gives the seller half the price. Seller will then drop the tool onto the floor, and the buyer will give the remaining amount back to the seller. Just by watching this, you can probably tell where this can all go wrong. Quingwin, you don't have to say thank you to me. This is scripted. The more common method is the seller being the scammer. After receiving half the payment of the tool, the seller can typically leave the party, and you're left with 500k less coins. The second method, although less common, is the buyer being the scammer. Upon receiving the tool, the buyer can simply leave the party without paying you the other half, leaving you with 500k less coins and a feeling of emptiness. There's really no way to completely avoid the scam, which is why it's so common. I would suggest only buying Jacob's tools from trusted individuals or close friends. If these aren't an option, such as you not having any friends, always scam check the seller. You can always use Skycrypt to check their inventories, and never agree to pay in full first, because paying in full is usually almost always a scam. None of these are surefire ways to avoid it, so just use your common sense and be aware. The second scam is actually a category of scams I'd like to address as a whole. It's not as severe as the first, but it's probably even more common. Auction scams. The first and most common one is the quitting scam. Often, players will spam in chat how they're quitting the game, and the highest bid on their auction gets all their items. No, they're not quitting the game, and no, they're not getting their Hyperion. If they were really quitting the game, why would they care about the highest auction? They have nothing to gain from this. Another common auction scam are messages such as, "Help, accidentally put my Lividagger up for 500k instead of 5 mil. When you actually check their auction, it's a Dreadlord sword, a weapon worth about 5,000 coins. Another scam that's been around since the beginning of Skyblock is the item swap. During a trade, the scammer will switch one item with another that has the same Minecraft default texture. For example, the Flower of Truth, a sword worth more than 4 million coins, looks the same as a worthless endstone rose. Without a keen eye, you may never even notice. An easy fix for this is to use a custom pack that differentiates between items. I personally use this texture pack, but there's a lot of different options out there, and I highly recommend taking a look at which ones you'd prefer. If you don't want to use the texture pack, always be sure to hover your mouse over the item before accepting the trade. If the trade is randomly cancelled, be extra cautious. The next scam happens inside dungeons. In dungeons, as one progresses to higher and higher floors, the monsters become increasingly difficult, and are sometimes impossible to complete for lower level players. However, many weapons are completion locked, meaning you can't even use them until you complete the floor the weapon originates from. Because of this, higher level players who can solo the floors often sell floor carries, where they will carry you through the floor for a price. Typically, the buyer of the carries will either pay half or the full price before the carry takes place, and a potential scammer can simply leave without completing the carry. To avoid the scam, buy carries from trusted sources. Discord servers such as Skyblock Maniacs offer trusted dungeon carries, typically for higher prices. I'll link some of these discords in the description below. One of the final scams I'd like to touch on is co-op scams. The scam can play out in several different ways. The fine line is never invite anyone to your co-op unless you trust them. Typically only start a co-op profile with friends such as I have, or people you know in real life so you can beat the shit out of them if they scam you. Just kidding, I don't condone violence. Co-op members have full access to your island, your bank account, your auction, and bazaar orders, and can even kick you from the co-op, wiping everything you own. And lastly, the final scam I want to talk to you about is dragons. Don't do dragons. It's 2021. There's a million other scams out there I haven't even begun to discuss. And there's new scamming methods being made every single day, and that's the harsh reality we have to live with. If you'd like me to make another one of these detailing even more scams, because trust me, I can compile a whole new list, let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment. Parting thought I'd like to leave you with is that if a player is acting suspicious or you have any feeling that it's a scam, play it safe and deny the offers. Use common sense Happy grinding.